Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Are the Indianapolis Colts actually good, or will things come crashing down to earth soon? Also, Vikings fans waited an entire season to see JJ McCarthy play, and now they're going to have to wait a little longer. And the Bucs are starting to put the NFL on notice.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
Led by the man they are calling Indiana Jones, the Indianapolis Colts are now 2-0 after a wild win over the Denver Broncos in week 2. Jake Arthur from Locked On Colts joins me now. And Jake, I'll put it to you bluntly. How are they doing this?
Well, I mean, they're playing good complementary football. That's for one. We're used to one side of the ball at least letting the entire team down. And I know over the last year or two, it was almost impossible to get them to play both sides of the ball. Like it was either offense or defense, never together. Really, both times now, it's been pretty complimentary. The defense was a little rough for most of it against Denver, but they made important plays down the stretch when they absolutely had to have them. But, you know, they were down Charvarius Ward, their top defensive back. They were down Laiatu Latu, their most important defensive lineman. So, I mean, they played how you would kind of expect. But really, the consistency of the offense and the Shane Steichen, Daniel Jones connection has been out of this world so far. And, I mean, as we all know, as people who cover the NFL, if your quarterback situation is going all right, your team is going to go all right ultimately. And I think that's the biggest catalyst right now is this offense is absolutely humming. I mean, they scored on all 7 possessions in that first game. They scored in their first 3 on Sunday. So that's an NFL record. They scored on their first 10 possessions of the season.
Crazy.
It's insane. Even their kicker, like they released Matt Gay earlier in the offseason to go to Spencer Schrader, who is a rookie undrafted free agent last year. And he's made all 9 field goals now. And I think they've got like 5 touchdowns. He's made all 5 extra points. So their kicker is perfect. Other than the missed 60-yarder that got called back for leverage, he is perfect on the year. So everything's going right so far. And luckily for them, everything else in the AFC South is kind of going wrong. So they built a nice little lead early on. So
the thing is, you were there. You were witnessing this quarterback competition such that it existed. You came on this show. We talked about the decision to go with Daniel Jones. And I believe you expressed on this show, hey, we'll probably see Anthony Richardson at some point. That's just kind of the way that this is going to go. I hope I'm not betraying your confidence if you told me that after the interview off the record. But I'll tell you, that's what I assumed before the season for sure. And so what sort of realm of possibility did you think this version of the Colts was after what you saw in training camp?
I figured it would be pretty unlikely because it's like I was on the record saying after the quarterback competition, I probably would have leaned towards Anthony because it seemed like a wash. Like neither of them had really set themselves apart. And Anthony was the one that had shown the most flash and more big plays and everything like that. And him being the incumbent, you would have said, you know, tie goes to the leader or tie goes to the guy you at least already know. And that wasn't the case. And Shane Steichen has proven himself right. I mean, it's just been 2 games, but exactly for the reasons he said he picked Daniel Jones, you're seeing it. The guy apparently is brilliant before the snap. Like the mental aspect of the game is brilliant. But as far as the physical part of playing quarterback, as we saw with him with the Giants, there has to be a lot going right around him. I don't want to make it seem like he is just dragging the Colts to a 2-0 start because the offensive line has been excellent. The receivers and Tyler Warren have been great, and Jonathan Taylor is leading the NFL in rushing. So like everything is going very, very well, but he's pulling the strings here. Everything before the snap, he's making great reads, great adjustments at the line. Shane Steichen, I think, is setting things up very, very easily for Daniel to make these quick reads, a lot of RPO stuff, get rid of the ball immediately. There's almost always an open receiver schemed up right there within his first couple reads. So Shane Steichen is calling an awesome game plan so far through 2 games, other than maybe the late game management there at the end against the Broncos. I think he's done really, really well through 2 games, and Daniel Jones is executing it as well as he could.
I think that's going to be the question on sustainability, right? At the end, they got very conservative, and I think it would be fair to infer Shane Steichen is going, hey, let's not put the ball in the hands of Daniel Jones and let him lose us this game for as good as he was. For the balance of the game, when you play better teams, can you continue to do that? Or over the course of the season, can you continue to do that?
Yeah, I think balance is one of the biggest things I think Shane could learn from. We've seen this now going into year 3, where if a certain area of the game isn't working, he'll abandon it, or he'll totally switch shifts to something that makes sense for him, but to everybody else watching, you're like, why would you do that? And his philosophy is throw to score and run to win the game, basically. So he wants to use the passing game to put points on the board and everything, but once you've got that lead, he wants to nurse it with the run, get the clock milked out and everything. And I mean, they didn't want Denver to get the ball back and with that final possession, so they wanted to get it down as low as possible. They said they thought they'd get more on that 3rd down when Jonathan Taylor got stonewalled and they had to settle for a 60-yarder. But okay, you get a couple yards, you want a 55-yarder? Like, that's not a whole lot better, you know what I mean? So it's just something where he did on Monday when he spoke to us in his first presser after the game each week. He said he probably would have approached differently, been a little more aggressive. And again, just being conservative with leads has been a problem. And the Colts have allowed teams to come back in the past. Now they have had a much different defensive situation under Gus Bradley than they now have with Lou Anarumo. So his philosophies may work a little bit better now with the people who are around him. But yeah, I think that game management style and just being a little too conservative with a lead, they got lucky in this one because, I mean, they should have lost when that 60-yarder didn't go through. Yeah. I mean, the leverage call by the Broncos, it's not like they blocked the kick off of that. You know what I mean? So the Colts did get lucky there. But, it's a learning example, and Shane has at least acknowledged that he probably should have been a little more aggressive.
You can stay up to date all year on the Indianapolis Colts by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Colts on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Your Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, JJ McCarthy is out, so what's next for Minnesota? Before we get to that, Dabo Swinney is fed up with the complaints about Clemson. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for the weekend with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however I like to bet in that moment. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in the action live as it unfolds. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little bit more energy to your Sunday. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Clemson head coach Dabo Swinney is taking some heat after the Tigers' 1-2 start. If fans are truly unhappy with the state of the program, fine, just send him on his way.
The worst season we've had in 14 years is 9 wins. And that's happened one time. So, and it's not that we haven't had bad moments. It's not that we haven't had highs and lows. We've had highs, we've had lows, we've had bad moments. And I would say this is a bad moment. This is a bad little stretch. This is a low. But we've always responded. And that's how we've been able to we've had 14 years in a row with a postseason win. I mean, we're not perfect. But the reason we've been in this situation many times. I mean, I said this last night. We started out 2-3 in my first year. It was pretty negative around here. I mean, listen, perspective is important. So if they want me gone, if they tired of winning, they can send me on the way because that's all we've done is win. So if they tired of winning, we've won this league 8 out of the last 10 years. Is that not good? I'm just asking. Is that good? I don't know if that's good or not. To win your league 8 out of 10 years, to go to the playoffs 7 out of 10 years, to be in 4 national championships, win it twice. Yeah, we're a little down right now. Take your shots, but I got a long memory, in case y'all don't know.
over on the diamond, the Phillies have claimed the NL East crown.
I would have absolutely loved to have seen the Phillies clinch their second consecutive NL East championship in South Philadelphia. But there is sort of a sweetness to winning in L.A. against the Dodgers in the manner in which they won in L.A. against the Dodgers to clinch back-to-back NL East titles. First, throughout this season, there have been the ups and there have certainly been the downs. May, things look like it's going to be easy. Another great start to the season in the month of May. June, July, you're playing 500 baseball on the nail. And then August, you start to pick it up. September, you get news you're going to be losing some of your stars. End of August, you realize you're not going to have Zach Wheeler. Then you realize you're not going to have Trey Turner. But this team just keeps on coming, just like they did in their 6-5 clinching win against the Dodgers. They were up, they were down, they were tied, they were up, they were tied, blow a save, and then they're able to win in 10 innings.
And Paul Skeens failed to lift the Pirates past the Cubs.
When it rains, it pours as a Pirates fan, and Paul Skeens is the one who has really, I think, his worst outing of the season, really. 3 2/3 innings, 92 pitches it took him to do that. The Cubs have cracked the Rubik's Cube that is Paul Skeens, at least as far as his approach goes to trying to get them to make quick contact. This is Gary from Locked On Pirates. Yeah, it's been a frustrating season, and it's appropriate that it would end this way, at least as far as the trying to match the low point that was the record of the last 2 seasons. The Pirates have just exceeded that. They will have a worse record than they have in the previous 2. What an indictment of the GM. There must be something done. Here's another indictment that we're going to have to face sooner or later. Buddy of mine, John Drecker, pulled this up, and I just have to hit you with it. Brian Reynolds and O'Neill Cruz are the first pair of Pittsburgh Pirates teammates to strike out 160 or more times in the same season. Their combined total of 332 only trails the combo of Brian Reynolds and O'Neill Cruz, 337, from last year among Pirates teammates. Those are 2 gigantic building blocks of whatever we're supposedly building here. And then the foundation of it threw up a stinker today. The only one I've ever really seen him throw. The Steelers are winning. Oh, no, they didn't. More on this on Locked On Pirates tomorrow.
The Minnesota Vikings had to wait an entire season to see JJ McCarthy play. And unfortunately, they're going to have to wait a little bit longer after getting 2 games and a win out of McCarthy as the starting quarterback. Luke Braun from Locked On Vikings joins me now. And Luke, this is an ankle injury for JJ McCarthy. Timeline at this point seems a little fuzzy. Vikings not going to commit to anything right now. Let's start, though, with what we did see. What did you make of the 2 games with McCarthy under center?
I mean, a lot more bad than good, but it's the kind of bad you'd expect from somebody who basically only took mental reps last year. You know, the plays and reads, like he was doing things in the right order. He had everything memorized he was supposed to have memorized, but man, it's different when the play clock's rolling. You're trying to get the play call in the huddle. You break the huddle late. Now things aren't right pre-snap. And suddenly all those mental reps where you were sitting peacefully in your living room don't take you as far. But that said, you know, when there's still enough flashes where you feel like, okay, once things settle, once the game slows down a little bit for the 22-year-old, you're going to be a lot happier. Even in the Atlanta debacle, there were some throws in that game where you're like, whoa, that was like a rope 30 yards down the field to Justin Jefferson. He was, you know, big, wide open middle of the field. But my God, that was an absolute missile. A couple of really nice ones to the outside as well. So there's enough for us to feel like, okay, so we're coming along, but we'll have a little patience. And now we just kind of have to click pause again.
Yeah, I saw someone put out on social media, like everyone wants to develop a quarterback until it comes time to develop a quarterback.
Yeah, right.
And you have to actually live through the highs and the lows of developing a quarterback here. The problem, if you're the Vikings now, is you're losing more reps, on-field reps. And so enter Carson Wentz. What does he have to do to just keep the train on the tracks here?
He just did not be specifically Carson Wentz. Well, all the Vikings need, I mean, with all the talent around, right? And unfortunately, the Vikings are more banged up than just JJ McCarthy. There's all kinds of injuries all over the roster right now. But hey, look,
Marisol being the big one.
Darrisaw is a big one. Andrew Van Ginkel coming out of concussion protocol. Hopefully Harrison Smith has some kind of mystery illness. He's got the vapors or something and he can't play. So they're really banged up right now. So part of it is just like steer the ship till people get healthy. But for Wentz, it's you have to play a responsible brand of football here. Just dish this thing out to Jordan Mason, who's had an awesome start to the year. Get to your check down, right? Just get the ball to Justin Jefferson and let things happen. Get the ball. Jalen Naylor has been wide open a lot downfield, but we're taking sacks and stuff's going wrong at the line. So there's talent everywhere. Carson Wentz just has to dish it, be a point guard, but that is so not Carson Wentz. It's never been Carson Wentz. So the main tension for me is he going to try to do everything himself, or is he going to realize there's a bunch of Pro Bowlers elsewhere on this roster and he just kind of has to play some responsible ball?
I kind of have been radicalized to the idea that I want a backup quarterback to be a little Carson Wentzy and just say, I'm going to huck the ball down the field 10 or 12 times a game and just create some variance because there's a reason they're a backup. That's just like my own personal
for sure
bias.
And I think the Vikings agree with you. I think I'm more so in the camp of like, that works great when you don't have a lot of talent and you just kind of have to like conjure magic. But I think the Vikings have, the guys around them, like, just let this be Justin Jefferson's show, and you just throw the ball on time where it's supposed to be.
I wonder if you think we have, as like you sort of know where the national narrative was with the Vikings as we came in, and hey, JJ McCarthy has this X bar to clear for this team to be good. Do you think we erred in setting that bar, we being the sort of national media here, or has JJ McCarthy played, to your mind, below that bar?
I think we maybe erred a little bit in how ready we thought JJ McCarthy would be. He's a lot closer to a rookie than a second-year player. And I remember when we did like the NFC North thing, I thought he'd be more like kind of halfway between those. But really, there is just no substitute for NFL experience, and I think we kind of underrated that. The problems with the Vikings, there's a relief in it, in that the problems are not, oh my God, he can't hit the broadside of a barn. They're not, he's staring down his first read and he's not going through any progressions. That's not what's happening here. They've got some operational issues. He's getting play calls late. They're breaking the huddle late, and that's causing other problems. They got stuff to clean up, but it's so much more solvable than like, oh no, he can't throw. Or we have to, truncate the offense. Like what they're doing with Bo Nix in Denver is like not a vote of confidence, right? Like I would much rather be dealing with this problem, even though it leads to, in the short term, a worse offense than what Denver is doing. Denver moved to the ball great, but right now I'm a lot more comfortable with, okay, he's just kind of got to, the game needs to slow down, and then you see the flashes of what that can happen. We can make our peace with that.
You mentioned the talent around what Carson Wentz is going to have here. I have already seen some jokes, maybe half jokes about, hey, what if Carson Wentz plays like pretty solid here over the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then the Vikings have a decision to make? Do you think the Vikings would have a decision to make?
I don't think they would. I think that they've been so adamant about defending JJ McCarthy from people who've wanted to disparage him. I think they've been genuinely really frustrated with the national narratives around JJ McCarthy all offseason, the misreporting of his knee injury from like the likes of Adam Schefter, the misreporting of the Aaron Rodgers random phone call they had in the middle of the summer that went nowhere. And I don't think they would have been that adamantly push back against that if they didn't believe in the kid. I think they're going to let the kid work through his growing pains, even if that means, hey, maybe, putting a veteran in would make you lose by 10 instead of 17 in this game. No, they're going to let the kid work through his stuff. Also, yeah, okay, let's get 3 great games out of Carson Wentz, and then we can go live in that fantasy land. Sure, man. Sure.
Stay up to date all year on the Minnesota Vikings by subscribing to Locked On Sports today and Locked On Vikings on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, the Bucs are putting the rest of the league on high alert. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are off to a very hot start. Locked On NFL host Tony Wiggins and Kevin Ostreicher believe that the Bucs and the Bills are the 2 best teams in the NFL.
Man, Baker Mayfield is something else. He is something else. And look, that's the type of quarterback, and there are many throughout the league, but Baker's such a unique player, and that's a guy that, I'd want to go to battle with each and every single week if I was a player. Just the grit that he has, the determination. I know everyone's talking about the scramble he had, getting out of pressure and making things happen, leading the Bucs down and winning that game. Like, Baker's for real. The Bucs are for real. And I know we were talking in the offseason about Tampa. Both of us were in agreement that they were the clear favorite in that division. It's the next step for them, which is, can they be mentioned in the same vein is, even if it's not the Eagles, maybe of the Lions or the Commanders, that second tier, I guess, of NFC teams. And so far through 2 weeks, they have answered that bell and honestly are at the level right now of the Philadelphia Eagles. So it's been a great story. Obviously, Emeka Egbuka's been incredible, 3 touchdowns in his first 2 games as a rookie there. And the crazy part to me is they still have guys out. Like, they're doing this without Chris Godwin and Tristan Wirfs and getting contributions from other guys that are on their roster. So, look, Tampa has been incredible so far this season, and I think if you're a fan of the Buccaneers, you have to be feeling pretty good.
I'm sorry. Remind me who the Buccaneers have beaten in the first 2 weeks. They beat a Falcons team with a quarterback who has not even started a full season's worth of games in a game they really should have lost. And then in week 2, the Buccaneers really should have lost to a pretty mid Houston Texans team. Meanwhile, for example, the Green Bay Packers beat the brakes off the Detroit Lions in week 1 and followed that off by beating the brakes off the Washington Commanders, the first time in history that a team has beaten 2 previous season playoff teams in 5 days. That does not happen. And not only did they do it, they did it in convincing fashion. And I'm sorry, Buffalo Bills, we don't get to hand wave the first 3 quarters against Kevin's Baltimore Ravens. They looked outmatched and outgunned at every turn until a couple turnovers late in that game. They have not been wire to wire in both games. Good teams. And the Bucs, the Bucs aren't even the 3rd or 4th best team in the NFC. Maybe they're 3rd. The Eagles have clearly been better. The Packers have clearly been better. And I would argue the Rams have been better than the Buccaneers as well. So what are we doing here? What are we talking about? I love Tony. I love Kevin. They are dead wrong on this. And finally, Arch Manning hasn't had the best start to his season with the Texas Longhorns, but he isn't running from the boos in Austin. After a rough day against UTEP, 10 straight incompletions, a badly missed wide open touchdown, and more than a few groans from the home crowd, the Texas quarterback promised better days are coming. This week's game against Sam Houston probably won't change the world, but it's one last chance to quiet the noise before the SEC gauntlet begins. For now, the Longhorns are betting on patience, and Manning is betting on himself. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, can the Dolphins show any signs of life against the Bills? So at least until tomorrow, stay Locked On Sports Today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on Sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.